Every city evolves through the people who build it, and every builder carries a vision beyond the skyline. Hi, I'm Abhay, and welcome to Prop Personalities by Prop News Time. Join us for honest conversations with real estate personalities, their journeys, their ideas, and how they see the future of cities, communities, and urban living taking shape. Joining us today is Raahil Reddy, who joined Fortune Primero at a time when the company was preparing for its biggest transition yet, moving from a long-established commercial real estate legacy into the premium residential development segment. He chose to focus on experience-led communities shaped by sustainability, technology, wellness, and global design thinking. Raahil is leading the vision behind 7 Sarjapur, backed by over 3 decades of trust built by Fortune Primero in commercial real estate. His approach combines long-term thinking with modern customer expectations, from design and transparency to smarter urban planning. Hi Raahil, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us today. So Raahil, tell us a little bit about your real estate journey. What sparked your interest in the industry?
First of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's a pleasure meeting yourself and the rest of your team, and really excited for this session. In terms of what sort of sparked the journey, so my family's been into real estate for the past 30 years, right? So my father started this company in 95. My grandfather was into real estate as well. So ever since I was growing up as a kid, the talk around the household has always been into real estate. So even when I studied abroad or when I worked abroad, right, the goal was always to come back and sort of continue this real estate family business. And that's what truly sparked my interest into the space.
All right. So you spent several years studying abroad, right?
Yes.
So were you thinking, did you ever think of maybe moving or settling outside, or was it always your intention to come back and continue the family business in India?
I think I really purposefully curated my career in such a way that whatever learnings I got, either from my college academic journey there, or my master's there, or even my workspace, it could be sort of replicated and used in this real estate segment here in India. So yeah, at the end of the day, my end goal was always to come back to India, and I never really had a second thought about that. I think it was always clear. My family was here, and my goal from when I was a kid has always been to work in this space, right? Because that's what truly fascinated me. So it was always sort of building up to that.
Nice. So what was it like growing up in a family so deeply rooted into real estate?
My father has always been a believer in getting me involved from an early age, right? So it wasn't someone, a lot of people, especially in real estate, they're like, hey, let's keep the kids away from the space at least till like 18, 20 years old, and then we can bring them in. My dad always believed that, let's get Raahil involved early on, so he also has that understanding. So throughout my life, I've grown up with that understanding of the space, understanding of the market, and that's why I feel a lot more comfortable working in that space right now rather than being taken at a shock.
Fair enough. So as a second generation leader, how do you try and balance preserving your family legacy while still bringing in a fresh perspective to the business?
Actually, interesting you brought that up, because our whole business has, our whole sort of brand, company has been developed on this principle of taking your legacy with you into the future, right? See, I think at the end of the day, yes, I'm someone who believes in innovation. I'm someone who believes in bringing the most futuristic product out there. But if you're not able to honor your legacy through that product, then I think at the end of the day, you're really missing out on what really roots us in our culture, right? So I think as someone, I truly, recognize, honor, and we really value what has been done, not just in my family, not just in our business, but in society as a whole, in Indian culture as a whole. And we want to take those elements with us into the future. Right? I'll give you a simple thing. Like even when it comes to design, right? We always believe in this philosophy, which is, think global, act local, right? Or where you sort of take your local sensibilities into your design, right? So every time we talk about future, etc., we're not talking about a Western concept of future. We're actually trying to define what is this Indian concept of future that we're going to pull forward with us. So the whole game has always been about taking legacy with us over the future, and even in the future, finding ways in which we can honor our legacy and stay true to ourselves.
Nice. So it's basically then about finding a way to innovate and still stay true to the lessons your granddad and dad taught you about real estate growing up.
Right. I think the most simple, basic principle that my dad has sort of coached me on throughout my life has been around this concept that, see, we've got to understand one very important thing. As a developer, sometimes you're so focused on like the overall project, overall vision, that we lose insight of what the customer really is coming to you for. We have to recognize the fact that the customers probably work for 25, 30 years to build savings, to build up, to really buy this house, right? So at the end of the day, it's a huge purchase for them. And as a developer, if you're not able to understand the value that really carries, we'll never be able to truly, respect or, be able to think from their perspective, right? A very simple thing. Sometimes, like a lot of customers, they come to our CRM team or they come to our sales team. They're like, hey, like we have this question. And the first thing that I like really insist on with anyone who joins our sales or CRM team is that please think of yourself that go to the customer's shoes, or think of this stuff from the customer's perspective, and then try to answer these questions. And that's one of the first principles that my father taught me. And I don't think that that's ever going to change, right? Because this is a very big purchase.
That's really interesting you brought that up, because as people who deal with all the stakeholders and talk to people from both sides of the aisle, we often hear that so many people feel that builders are disconnected with what other stakeholders, especially users, want. But to realize that no, you all understand how important it is and what is it that you all are selling. It's not just for you all, it might be another product or an item, but from everyone else's point of view, it is literally their life savings. And the fact that you all as a family business have understood that and you're taking it forward is really nice to hear, Personally, beyond real estate, is there any other industry or business space that excites you today?
Yeah, absolutely. See, actually, my background in the US was in private equity, right? So I worked at a private equity firm in the US. I actually feel, and I do use a lot of the principles that we learned or we utilized in private equity in real estate today, especially as India moves towards this phase where real estate is becoming more and more organized, right? Whether it's on the regulatory aspect, whether it's how companies have started operating, whether, just the overall structure of real estate as an industry has grown in a way in which it is becoming a little bit more organized day by day. Right? And I think as the real estate becomes more organized, those principles which help make a successful private equity firm or which helps makes sort of the investments of private equity firms successful can really be mimicked here. And that's a space that interests me. I'm also very much into technology. So my role even in PE was as a quant, right, which has a very strong tech focus. So I'm always fascinated by how you could work in PropTech. What are some new latest updates that are coming to the real estate market? Both, to improve the user experience, to improve both from a back end as well as a front end. And just, create that better space where the real estate helps become more organized through technology.
Now that you're looking towards residential, how are you approaching the innovation aspect within the residential real estate sector? Because it's quite different from commercial that way.
Absolutely. See, actually, the whole goal of me, like I was working there, so when I came back, my whole goal was to really set up and establish this residential wing. What is it that we want to do, right? And we were like, we want to build the city of the future, right? This has got to be, how like a car company before releasing a product, they release a concept, right? Correct. This project that we're doing in calling it the city of the future is our concept for what a futuristic development should look like in Bangalore or even India as a whole, right? So then I sat with our team, like we had a Singapore-based landscape architect, our regular architect actually Dubai-based. So it was a team of people who worked abroad, international architects, international visionaries who sat together. And then they're trying to explain to me, okay, hey, this is what we got to do. This is what we got to do. And that's when we really came up with this, that, hey, okay, one thing is building for the future and one thing is losing touch of what your legacy is. So how is it that we build our legacy into the future, right? So we came up with various concepts some interesting USPs of this project I can talk to you about is actually we have these 6 sky bridges. So every 7th floor, so the property is 42 stories, and every 7th floor we have a sky bridge, and each sky bridge is actually themed after a different country, right?
All right.
So your first sky bridge, for example, is themed after Norway. And what was the thinking there was we actually realized that a lot of times couples or even individuals, there's this new concept which millennials and Gen Z associate with is like me time, right? They want to like spend some time alone, or they want to spend some time as a couple. So we created an outdoor zone on the 7th floor actually, where there's sort of seating, and each seat outside does not look at another person. So we actually get complete privacy outside. Right. And the whole thinking behind that was, we wanted to give that Norwegian feel where people, like, it's so sparsely populated that, people have this space. Then we're like, okay, we did this me zone. What's the next group that we want to hit on? So we're like, okay, we want to target these kids, not your kids who go play in like these play areas and stuff, but like slightly older kids. Like think your preteens, your tweens, and like your 12, 13, 14-year-olds. Now the hottest thing is Korean drama, K-pop demon hunters, or your BTS, right? And then so we wanted to create a zone themed after Seoul, right? Which really addressed this. So we created an entire entertainment zone on the 14th floor. The next segment we wanted to hit on were the people working from home. It's a huge segment in Bangalore because a lot of people work from home. So we created a work zone which was themed after London, right? So actually during COVID, London was one of the foremost cities to start creating outdoor work pods, create this environment where, people could be they did not have to interact with others, but still work outside, get that air space, get that ventilation. It's almost like a cafe style atmosphere. They can have meetings. Then they also have these sort of privacy booths where they can go have one-on-one meetings, and that's going to be fully connected. And then finally the top ridge, because our architect is from Singapore, she wanted to do like a green zone or like a urban lush garden on the 42nd floor. So that's actually on the terrace, and that connects the entire project, right? So that was one of the highlights. And then we were like, okay, what else can we do to really stand out in this market? Because the market in Bangalore has become so competitive right now.
Correct.
So then we're like, okay, let's bring in rooftop amenities, right? So our entire rooftop has around 20,000 square feet of amenities. It's one of the tallest in Bangalore, right? And people are able to like access various things. There's a yoga deck on top. There's a walking track. And then there's also like a small play area. There's like various zones where they can have barbecues, pits, and all this is around 450 feet off the ground, right? So you get that sky living experience, and that's what we truly wanted to bring. And because even as per the Karnataka government's new mission, they want to help the city grow more vertically, and because of various other issues. And we also feel like, people really like this. They want to live above, and like for various reasons, maybe there's more pollution at the ground level. They want to feel that height. And the rest of the area for them is green, right? So they really want to experience this kind of sky living, and that's what we wanted to bring for people, right? So that's one way we're innovating. The various things. We have 30 plus themed gardens. So we have actually our landscape architect. She's a visionary, right? So she's worked with various major developers. She's actually, I think you might have heard of this Ananta,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
So she designed the landscaping there, right? And so she has a very strong vision. She's like, Raahil, you leave it to me. Like gardens, greenery, you please leave it to me, right? And we have 30 unique themed gardens. So everything, we have like a Japanese garden, a bamboo garden. Oh, yes. We are operating at 85% plus open space, right?
Wow.
So, see, that's the beauty. I think for us, it was less about trying to build an apartment project. It was more about trying to bring this concept of what the future looks like. And I think that's what we're really trying to do with this project.
And you all feel the future is going to be not just something that's globally represented, but also that's more got more open spaces, more greenery.
Absolutely. See, I spoke a lot about the global aspects, right? Where we're bringing in this culture. Right? You'll also see there's a lot of Indian aspects in this project as well, right? All of our units are 100% Vastu compliant. It has been purposefully designed to ensure that not just is it Vastu compliant, but also it has ample ventilation, ample things. It's only 4 units in a core. There's various aspects which, sort of balance both.
So 7 Sarjapur is positioned as your flagship mixed-use development. Now, as per what you told us, you focus a lot on micro markets, right?
Correct.
So what as per you makes Sarjapur such an interesting micro market?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, see, I think Sarjapur, so 7 Sarjapur is the project that I'm talking about right now.
Correct.
Right? I think Sarjapur, right, it has this very, very strong positioning in terms of, in Bangalore, right, what happens is people typically, they either want to live near their kids' schools or they want to live near where they work. And they try to balance this both. The advantage with Sarjapur is it's probably one of the only zones where they get both, right?
Alright.
Like this project that I'm talking about, right? There's probably around 20 to 25 major schools, your international schools, your, CBSE schools, everything, which are within 15, 20 minutes from this project. So that one becomes super accessible for all parents, right? And a majority of kids actually study in these schools. So that's a huge advantage. And second, two or three key belts in Bangalore, right? Like one is your Outer Ring Road stretch, which is where a lot of these GCCs are located. Then you have Whitefield,
Correct.
right? I think, and even Sarjapur Road itself has a lot of tech companies. So I think it is equally convenient for people to commute to these places as well. On the other side from our project, right, there's Electronic City, Bomsandra. Bomsandra is one of the biggest industrial hub. Electronic City has your Infosys, Wipro, there's various
All
other
the big
projects
IT
there
companies,
as well. There's a bunch of big IT companies. So I think, and that actually, this location is uniquely positioned such that it's actually equally accessible from both Electronic City as well as Sarjapur. That's one advantage. Other thing, in terms of infrastructure development, Sarjapur is probably one of the hottest belts right now. There's a metro line that connects Sarjapur, which is just 1 kilometer from our project, right? All the way till Hebbal. And Hebbal is essentially the last exit point from the city to get to the airports. That pretty much, if you are living in Sarjapur, you're extremely well connected with the rest of the city through metro. Right? That's a line that's already in progress, announced by the government, everything. Second thing is Tamil Nadu government has announced Hosur Airport. Right? So the current tentative location for Hosur Airport, it's still in the works. Right? But anywhere that they announce, it's going to be within 30 minutes from this project. Right? So that itself is a huge value add. Because for people living in East Bangalore, people living towards the edge of South Bangalore, accessibility to the airport becomes a huge challenge. Right? Like right now from our side to go to the airport, it is a challenge.
Right.
Right. So that's one thing. Then in terms of other infrastructure works, Karnataka government has also announced this thing called Swift City. So Swift City is this SEZ that targets your startups, that targets your fintech companies. Right. And in fact, the government has already notified around 1,500 acres of land to acquire and get this work started. That is less than 500 meters from this project location. So all those companies, they're going to add so much value to living here, right? People working there. And I think that area is just on the brink of booming. I mean, it's already booming, but it's on the brink of a sudden surge just because of all these infrastructure works in play. And various other things. The new cricket stadium, they're building a new one in Bangalore. That is very close to this. That's maybe around 15, 20 minutes. So I think just that stretch as a whole has seen a lot of development. There's a new couple of malls coming up.
So
new
it's a
hotels.
strategic location, kind of a
Absolutely. It's a
gamble that you're
it's a completely strategic location. And I also have a very deep tie to that place because my grandfather was originally from that area. My father was born there. So that naturally ties me back to that place as well. But no, I think this was purely from a strategic perspective.
Nice. So this project is positioned as a premium residential offering.
Absolutely.
So what sets it apart in Bangalore's market currently?
See, actually, I think one, premium is a very good word that you used because I'm not someone who likes to say luxury and I'm not someone who likes to say budget. What is premium, right? I think premium in Bangalore, it starts probably at something around 1 crore, right? And goes on all the way till around 2.5, 3 crores. That I would put as a premium segment in my personal perspective.
All right.
This project, it sits, I think, in a very, very ideal ticket zone, ticket size, which is between 1 and 2 crores. In fact, most of our inventory, which is around below 1.45 crores, is already sold out. Right? All these smaller units, investor units, they've sort of taken it up. The advantage there is, right, then that really opens up our segment of who our potential buyers are. Right? Like, I think anyone with a annual household income as a couple of around 20, 25 lakhs, are able to afford our property. And there's a lot of people in Bangalore who are able to earn that kind of income working in it. Right? So I think what that does is, one, it opens up a huge market for us for first-time buyers. right? I think a lot of people, in fact, a lot of customers who we see right now for some of our smaller units are people who have, maybe they're living in a rented house or they're living in a house which is a little smaller. They want to
First-time
upgrade.
home
There's a lot of
buyers.
first-time home buyers, and the first time that people are entering into this segment. Right? Maybe they're living in a smaller space nearby, which is slightly old, and they want to upgrade. Or they're living in a rented house, first time they're buying. Right? And I think that brings a lot of value because there's a lot of people who are able to afford housing at this segment. But again, premium is the right sort of framing, and I'll explain why. So when we got back, right, when I got back, and again, when we were working on this project, we were like, what truly defines what's premium, right? Is it the location? Okay, we have that. What else is it? See, what I wanted to bring to this market was, I wanted to bring a product which maybe someone who's selling a 3 crore apartment, 3.5 crore apartment, every single spec that they are providing, I want to provide in my project, right? Without compromising anywhere.
All right.
So if you see, that's exactly what we've done as well. See, the thing is, at the end of the day, it's about making that premium living accessible to people. So what's the number one thing we did? We brought in this high story living, right? 42 floors at this price, that itself takes us to a level which is with very less competition. There's not many projects which are 42 story, which are selling units which are even like 1.2 crores. Right? What's the next thing we do in terms of the specs? Right? Every single spec in the project is 100% premium. The way I consider this project is, this is my investment into my 50-year journey that I want to do, right? And I think that's the whole goal here. So that's why we're not compromised anywhere. There's like, for instance, in 3 of our towers, it's just only 4 units per floor. Again, unheard of in that kind of segment. And every single unit has a private corridor. So you get a private corridor and then you enter. So it's almost, you get a villa in the sky kind of a feeling, right? So various things that have been kept in mind. I can go on and on and on about the product, but then various things that I spoke about some amenities. You know, we spoke about like the clubhouse is around 45,000 square feet. You know, we have a lot of open space. Just so many things that we have done, and we have sort of consciously designed to get that premium appeal at that price.
So of late, we've seen several Bengaluru-based developers have expanded into new geographies and asset classes, like Sobha, Prestige, Embassy. So what does growth look like for Fortune Primero over the next decade?
Absolutely. See, I think honestly, respect to all the names you mentioned there. They've done a great job of expanding their footprint. A lot of them are publicly listed right now.
Okay.
See, the way I see it actually is there's sort of the growth that I have visioned out for our residential segment is slightly different from our commercial and industrial segment.
Fair enough.
Starting with industrial, I definitely think there's a lot of scope to grow outside Bangalore. That I think there's a lot of scope in different asset classes. And when I mean within real estate, different asset classes. So for instance, right now we would like to increase our exposure to warehousing, right? So we recently started a project in Kanakpura, right? Where we're working on a logistics park there, right? So similarly, I think the warehousing, logistics, that again moves on to this where we got to identify different connecting corridors, whether it's to Bangalore, other major cities, you know, like those corridors, and then identify what are those land parcels where something like this really makes sense, right? So that's already a work in progress. And again, in terms of commercial as well, there I would say that in my personal opinion, expansion could mean 2 things. One, definitely different cities,
All right.
right? But here, I also think expansion in commercial could also mean increasing exposure to different kinds of clients. Right now, a good portion of our client are actually IT companies, right? Naturally, Bangalore, you know, being the Silicon Valley, right? Our IT clientele. Recently, we've consciously, post-COVID, we've consciously made an effort to change that from just IT clients to more like your biotech companies, aerospace companies. At the end of the day, yes, hardcore engineering, multinational companies, but just with a slightly different sector focus. What that helps us do is actually diversify our customer base. Right, so in case there's a wave where, like, let's say the preferences of the IT industry change overall, we are not adversely affected by it because we have restricted exposure to IT. In terms of residential, my vision would be to first immediately establish a strong base in Bangalore. Continue, again, I spoke about this, use this as a success story, grow in Bangalore, and definitely explore other cities in India, explore other tier 2 cities. I think there's a lot of scope. And like, I think, see, at the end of the day, I think a good product will sell in any market, right? And I strongly believe this, right? I think a good product will sell in Bengaluru, a good product will sell in Chennai, sell in Trivandrum, sell in Delhi, right? So it's about can we bring that product at the right price, which would attract customers, right? Of course, there are a few challenges with expanding across, but yes, that's the true question that we need to answer.
Are you guys also looking to diversify into allied sectors like hospitality, F&B and stuff in the future?
I think not too keen on some of those spaces. I think definitely something we would like to keep open in the future. In terms of real estate, I think it's a very like backward oriented thing. I think you got to identify like, okay, one, you identify a project, then you got to build what really works there. Right? It cannot be like I think that's a better approach to identify, okay, this is the land parcel that you have, or this is the land parcel that you've acquired. This is how we devise the product to approach this. Right? Rather than trying to go find a land parcel with the purpose of something. Right? I think so. Allied spaces, not that particular. I think about F&B, hospitality. I'm not saying no, but immediate vicinity, it's not part of our strategic
immediate plans. Fair enough. What about expanding into something like branded or serviced residential apartments? Is that something you're thinking of?
No, that I think there's a lot of scope, right? I think one is, of course, branded and residential serviced apartments, but also I think in terms of, you might have heard of brands where they do like, like 1 bedrooms, right? Or even like a 2 bedrooms serviced, right? Primarily targeting younger kids, people who are like just working, who don't really have a family that they're living with. I do think there's a lot of scope, and there's a lot of scope to bring a premiumness aspect to it. Right? There's a lot of paying guest accommodations and stuff in Bangalore as well, but bringing in an angle of premiumness to it and creating that whole approach with like good quality offerings, good amenities, good facility, and there's a lot of scope. Something that's definitely in our vicinity. Right? I always see, the thing is, I'm a strong believer that when you're good at something, you continue pushing on that. Where's our strength? Our strength is development, finance, and strategy. Right? So even in this project, for the other aspects of real estate, then we have tried to partner with thought leaders in the space. Hospitality and service, that's a whole other ball game again. That's why when you said hospitality, I said, see, that's not part of our immediate strategic priorities, because it's a whole different ball game.
True.
Right? So I think first would be to like build this base and then like try to like get complete benefit from this sort of space that we're currently specializing in before expanding to these other verticals. But the service residential space is something which really attracts us.
How do you personally see Bengaluru's real estate landscape evolving over the next decade or so?
I actually think that Bengaluru real estate will become much more organized over the next 10, 15 years. And I think because two things, right? One, and this is very good, I think customers have started asking the right questions, right? Not only do we see it, I think all the other developers in Bangalore see it. The customer now has become very educated. Right? It's very good that they have this information, whether it's through RERA, right, which brings information to their like sort of they're able to access it, or whether it's through like so many tools, like including AI has so much feedback on like what you should be asking a developer. I think the customers have become more and more educated on the purchase they're making. Right? So this whole opacity that used to be there in real estate, I think that's slowly diminishing. Right? Like initially, I think last year, right, when we were speaking about this stuff, I was like, hey, we want to bring in transparency. But now a lot of other developers have also started catching on to this. Everybody's trying to bring in this transparency into their business, because people, I think this has also become a priority for developers, where they've realized that the best way to attract customers is through transparency. Right? And I think in that sense, it is going to become a lot more organized. And I think that's very good for the industry as a whole. Right? And when that is the case, I really hope that it can become a learning on how an industry can become more organized. And I'm very confident actually.
Also, how do you think technology and AI are starting to influence real estate development, customer experience, project management? Have they started already becoming a big part of your
100%.
industry?
100%. I think actually, even I started this project, it's been a little over 2 years now, right? Just the amount of development I've seen in these past 2 years, it's been extraordinary, right? So let's first start with AI, right? AI was very nascent. So even when I was in the US, we were working on a few AI products, AI tools and everything. But the way it's dominated the real estate segment, it's actually a miracle, right? So I think what has happened now, every single person who I talk to, so I'm sure you might have seen some of these tools where they showcase the entire project digitally. They create like a digital twin or a virtual twin of the project.
A virtual tour.
Right? They do the entire thing now. Actually, it's not just a virtual tour. You can literally experience the full walkthrough. You can like live like you're in the project in the virtual twin.
Yeah.
Right? Now all those tools are getting powered by AI. Right? So not only are you walking through it, you're also able to like ask like questions, and like it's able to almost give you that sales agent experience virtually. Right? So I think from a customer selling perspective, AI can have a very strong thing, like simple thing. Like, there are like on the launch day, it was just absolutely packed. People were waiting, right? If you could have like an AI kiosk where the AI is answering a few questions, at least to like warm up the customers so they didn't get bored. And also it's a way in which you can free up like your sales agent space. Right. I think there's a lot of scope. The second thing, and this is a big factor actually, I think a lot of transparency can be brought into the market using technology. Right? For us, we're actually building a tool, almost done actually, is where we're creating a dashboard where people are able to keep track of like construction updates, construction progress, all the documentation, just like the one source of truth resident portal for people who enter the sale agreement. What that does is that really boosts transparency. A lot of times now customers have to come back in and then they're like, oh, like, is this done? Is this done? Is this what this is? Is this what this is? We're able to create a transparency dashboard where people are able to access all this live. Right? That's something we're going to launch with actually.
And apart from technology, how do you also see the sustainability evolving in Indian real estate over the next 5-10 years?
I think sustainability it has to be top of mind. And I think like sustainability, right? I think there's sort of two aspects to it. One, I think in terms of carbon footprint, right? What actually is happening for us as a country? You see, we face so many issues with AQI. And as we become more and more, I would say more and more industrialized, our population continues to increase, these challenges will keep coming to us, right? I know I spoke about AQI. I know that was more of a Delhi thing, but in Bangalore, there was a water crisis.
Right.
There was a water shortage a couple of years ago. So I think overall, as a community, right, I think as a developer, it is our responsibility to become more sustainable. Right? We are doing a bunch of stuff. So I think it was actually when we built our brand itself, it was identified as one of our 4 core principles. So one was, of course, build to outlast, design to adapt. The third one was always rooted in responsibility. And that has always been revolving around sustainability. So this whole project has also been designed with that vision. Right? So we have solar panels all around. And then we have a lot of green open space with trees. We're actually creating this jungle within the product to really create, within the project to really offset the carbon footprint. Right? We have rainwater harvesting. We have around 25% of our parking spots actually have EV charging connections. There's a lot. We're creating EV charging base. I think we're also actively trying to figure out new technology. So one technology that we were exploring actually called paved and kinetic flooring, right? Where like it's flooring that generates energy and people walk on it. So in our high zones, we were considering using that. There's a lot that can be done with sustainability, like even in terms of like water management, like even in terms of planting, creating more, using technology to like, and actually even AI, they're doing a lot of stuff in terms of maintaining the carbon footprint and like maintaining their water resourceability. So all these are stuff that we're trying to incorporate in our project. See, I don't think it's a like 1 to 100 on day one kind of a solution. It's like it's a work in progress. But one thing, I'll tell you the positive behind all this. I told you that the developers are responsibility, right? I strongly believe that the customers are also responsible in asking developers the right questions. And that's something I've seen, right? A lot of people now raise questions on like, what are the sustainability practices that you're adapting, right? Is your building LEED certified? There's so many things that customers bring up. And I think at the end of the day, developers also then are forced to like adapt to this.
Looking ahead, what is your long-term vision for Fortune Primero as a brand and as a company?
I think, see, for me, if you ask me what is the one thing that I would want our company to be known for 30, 40, 50 years from now, it's probably to be the most transparent real estate developer in Bangalore or even in India, right? I think for me, that is number one factor. Yes, innovation, very important. I'm someone who strongly believes in innovation, but above all else, I would say that if I was regarded as the most transparent developer, I would be more than happy, because anyone can be a visionary, anyone can be innovative with the right team. But to be transparent, I think you need to have that you need to keep building that reputation, right? Because trust is one thing which you need to build it every single time, but the minute you break it once, it's sort of spoiled.
True.
Right? So in the next 50 years, if I'm known as the most transparent builder, where a customer is like, okay, if we invest with this developer, we are very happy with the outcome. That's what I would be most happy about.
Nice. Thank you so much, Raahil. It was lovely having you here.
Thank you so much
Yes,
for having me.
thank you
Really
for giving us
appreciate
your time.
it. Thank you.